Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today for the Cut of the Confusion virtual session. My name is Katie Dennis, and I'm the Marketing Coordinator here at OPA. We are thrilled to have you here as we delve into some important topics about the hairstyling industry, particularly around apprenticeships, licensing, and navigating the trade equivalency process.
So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our key presenters today. So we're starting off with Tanya Hill, who is the president of the Ontario Professional Hairstylist Association. And then we'll be followed by a presentation from Renée Robertson, who is an employment and training consultant from the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development. And she'll cover apprenticeship programs, available grants and subsidies, and the process for exam registration. And then we'll pass it over to Monica and Raheem from Skills Trade Ontario, Skilled Trades Ontario, who will be sharing the valuable information on the trade equivalency assessment and hairstyling licensing. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Tanya. And yeah.
Great, thank you. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to quickly speak about OPA, who we are and how we can help. So OPA is a non-for-profit association that is run by volunteers. We were established in 2019. When OCOT was winding down, there was some speak of maybe the trade becoming dismantled, not being regulated, certified. So that's how industry professionals came together, and that was how OPA was founded in 2019. Our vision is to promote, protect, and progress the trade of hairstyling in Ontario. So how can OPA help? Well, we do these complimentary webinars and seminars like today. We do have a $25 membership that you can get on our website, and that will give you, we have monthly newsletters that we share with you. We have special promotions that are for OPA members. And in our monthly newsletters, we share some really important industry information. So things like the Red Seal practical exam. Is it coming back? What do you need to know? And we also reach out to our members to provide feedback. So when they're doing curriculum consultations, what do you want to see in the curriculums for hairstylists? We reach out to our members and then we share that with government. So being a part of the association really, truly does allow you to help shape the future of our trade. Did you know there's 144 trades in Ontario? Of that, 23 are compulsory, meaning you need a license to legally work. Hairstylist is one of those compulsory trades. We're the third largest trade out of the 144 trades. So only automotive technician and electrician is bigger than us. That's a breakdown of our industry stats showing our journey persons, apprentices, and candidates. That's those getting ready to write the Red Seal exam. A little history. Hairdresser was first recognized 80 years ago in 1944 as a compulsory trade. Over 30 years ago is when the barber trade and hairdresser came together and became hairstylist. So to legally work in the province of Ontario, you must be a licensed hairstylist or certified registered apprentice. And then after that, on your license, you can work as a colorist, styling, cutting, or call yourself a barber. But truly, there is no trade of barber in Ontario. In 2002, an industry took a review to make sure we should still remain as hairstylists. That was consolidating those two bodies, and it found there was a lot of overlap in the competencies that we needed. So it was decided that we would remain as hairstylists. In 2009, we moved from MCU to OCOT. They became our regulatory body. And then in 2021, before that, 2019, we became the regulatory body was STO, and we're governed by the Ministry of Labor. So the pathways, we're really lucky to have Renée here, and she's going to speak about apprenticeship. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that after this, on our website, which I'll show you after, all this information lives on our website as well. So to become a hairstylist, you can either do traditional apprenticeship, but at the end of whichever pathway you choose, the hours remain relatively the same. We're looking at 3,500 hours as a benchmark. If you do traditional apprenticeship, most of the hours are done on the job, and you're going to go to school for level 1, level 2. If you choose to go to a public college or private career college, it's 1,500 hours. So most of your training is done in school, and then you're going to finish your hours on the job, which is roughly 2,000 hours. Your sponsor will be signing off your logbook, and then you'd be eligible to do your exam. Of course, we have OYAP, and of course, we're fortunate to have Monica and Raheem here from STO, who will talk about having your foreign credentials recognized through the T process. Again, Renee will go over all these available grants and subsidies, but just to know that that does live on our website. One of our first projects that OPA did as a pilot with the ministry was where we created OPA Connect. This is an online platform that's free that supports mentors and apprentices. So all that information we spoke about lives on our website. We know this can be complicated. We know it's a lot to navigate. We wanted to put it all in one spot. So I will quickly show you. If you go on our website, you simply log in. When you log in, you create a free online platform. And then you'll be able to log into the OPA Connect platform. When you get to the dashboard, you'll see that we have mentors and apprentices. So all of these different modules that you can click on, all the links are dynamic and you can click on them to find, download the logbook, the grants and subsidies, links to them. Again, for apprentices, you can work through it, click complete. If you need to download your logbook or you want to know responsibilities, you can click on any of these links and actually find out how to get things. And as I said, all of the links are dynamic and you can download things. That was one of our first projects that we supported as a free resource for industry. The most recent one is Hair Connect. So what we discovered was a lot of people, when they go to prepare for the theory exam, they're not really sure how to prepare. They think they'll take their MLITSD or their pivot point and they'll study it, which is a great resource. But actually, we are writing the Red Seal theory exam in Ontario. We don't issue the Red Seal currently, but we are doing the Red Seal theory exam. So that's to the Canada standard. So it's actually subject matter experts across Canada that decide what an apprentice should know after 1 year on the job. So even though it's a theory exam, it's truly based on our practical skills. And this comes from, all the questions come from what we call the Red Seal Occupational Standard. So what OPA has created is Hair Connect. So another way, and again, you can just, email or DM us if you wanted to get access. So on this website, there are 320 multiple choice exams that you can work through. You can do these exams numerous times. Great questions. When you click on the answer, when you hit confirm, it'll actually tell you if you're right or wrong. Every question has an explanation, so a further way to study another resource. Then at the end of it, we know we need 70% when we go on the exam. So at the end of this, let's say you got 60%. The wonderful thing is this platform will track your results and identify where you had the most challenges. So let's say it was cutting or styling. You can simply use one of these resources we've also had created by subject matter experts that condense the whole unit into a video. So you can go through and watch those, go back, try the exam again. We also recognize that often, if you come from another country or you've been an apprentice a while, it's just all those words. What do they mean? So we have a complete exam glossary that you can read through and study. And then we've created over 100 questions to further support all those glossary words. We also have a professional development. This is just kind of a fun series, entrepreneurial. You'd see things like this webinar if you wanted to go back and watch it. We have our resource library where you have that actual Red Seal occupational standard that the exam is built from, and all the questions are developed from the information on this document. We've also created a webinar on how to formulate hair color to further prepare you for the exam. And we also do recognize that a lot of people maybe have not done a lot of shaving or razor cutting, and that is on the exam. So we have a full video on that to further support you with that as well. So now we get into what are some of those options in this hairstyling world. Well, hair is an art. The possibilities are limitless. It's not just a job, it's a way to express yourself. There's diverse opportunities and your pathway awaits you. So let's look at some of those different pathways and why you might want to become a hairstylist. It definitely is a creative outlet, flexibility in your schedule, job security, opportunity for advancement, and personal connection with those longtime clients when we build that great clientele. There are lots of different options when we actually become a hairstylist. So one of those options is in the traditional salon. So you might want to work where you serve a regular client base. You'll work alongside other stylists for collaboration. Often you're doing salary and or commission, and you're going to benefit from the salon's marketing and client acquisition efforts to build your clientele. Bridal hair, this is becoming a really big section. It's usually project-based. Obviously, you're usually scheduled quite far in advance. It does make for a flexible schedule somewhat, but you are working on location, client's home, wedding venues, travel destination, and your income is primarily per project and potential gratuities. Freelance independent, this is becoming very popular. It's a way that you can work independently without having all that overhead initial cost of starting up a salon. So either sometimes you're renting a salon suite that's already been developed into a salon space, or you might be renting a chair within the salon. So you'd be responsible for your bookings and your products. So working independently, but yet still having the luxuries of not having all those overhead initial cost setups. Editorial work, this is a way to collaborate with fashion designers. You can work focused on photo shoots. This is definitely is more of an avant-garde kind of trend if you're doing this kind of hairstyling work. Again, it is project-based fees or contracts with different fashion entities. Brand representative, this is the way that you'll work with different brands. So Design Me, Joico, L'Oreal, Wella, Redken, and you'll actually be doing a lot of demos, brand promotion, attending trade shows, lead workshops, acting as a liaison between the brand, salon, or end consumer. And again, this is usually a combination of salary and or commission. Film and theater, this is a really growing section of our field. Usually it's a little bit larger in the larger cities. You will collaborate with directors, actors, and makeup artists. You're involved right from pre-production right to production phase. This is, again, usually fixed salary. This is unique to our industry because you are working with unions, and most of those unions do want you to be a licensed stylist or Red Seal stylist. So if this is something you're interested in, you certainly would want to work towards obtaining your license. And of course, we can always be a salon owner where you're going to run your own business, whether it's a sole proprietorship, partnership, corporation. You're going to be responsible for the financing, the marketing, the staffing. You're going to get to hone those entrepreneurial skills, and your income, unless you're working behind the chair as well, comes from the salon profits after the expenses have been paid. Salon educator, this is another avenue you might look at. So you could work in a private school doing those 1,500 hours. You could be in a community college. Also now in the high schools with those tech programs, you could be working within the high schools and, teaching the trade of hairstyles and just kind of promoting it introductory at that high school level. But you do have to require a lot of update knowledge and often additional certifications to do this kind of work. And of course, we have those celebrity hairstylists. So this is also something that some might want to look at. Christine S., known for her work on Lauren Conrad, Jen Atkin, the Kardashians, and Anne Cotron, Anne Hathaway. So this might be something that you might aspire towards as well. So I'd like to just thank everybody, and we're lucky to have the other presenters with us today. Please follow us on any of our social platforms to know more and to stay in tune with us. Please pass your questions on to us if you have any. And also, we're always looking for volunteers. You probably see us on social media now, traveling around Ontario, promoting the trade of hairstyles at Level Up career fairs. So we definitely are always looking for volunteers as well. So thank you, and hopefully you found this information helpful. Now I'm going to pass it over to Renee.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. Okay, so I'm just going to get my screen ready to share here. There we go. Can everyone see my screen okay?
Yep, you're good.
Good. Thank you. Okay, so my name is Renée Robertson. I'm an employment and training consultant with the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. And I work in the Ottawa office. So we have a lot of apprenticeship offices across the province. And we manage the apprenticeship registrations. We also have exams in our office and things like that. So I'm going to go over an apprenticeship overview today. So in this presentation, I'm going to go over Ontario's apprenticeship system, becoming an apprentice, roles and responsibilities, and some benefits and financial incentives. So what is a skilled trade? So I think Tanya kind of talked about that, but there are, it's a trade that requires specific skill or set of skills, and there's compulsory and non-compulsory trades. So hairstylist is a compulsory trade where you have to be a registered apprentice or hold a certificate of qualification or provisional certificate of qualification to legally work in the trade in Ontario. So what is apprenticeship? So it's a model of learning that combines classroom and workplace training. So most of the training is done at the workplace, right, where the apprentice is paid and works under the direction of experienced workers. Classroom training, which is about 10 to 15%, is done mainly at approved training delivery agents in Ontario and provides the theory to support the practical workplace training. So to become an apprentice, an individual must be 16 years of age or older, meet the educational requirements for their chosen trade, and provide proof of their required education. So for the hairstylist trade, individual must have successfully completed grade 12 or equivalent. So there is more information about the hairstylist trade on the Skilled Trades Ontario website. Person must also be legally eligible to work in Canada and have a sponsor in Ontario. So how does someone become an apprentice? So an applicant's required to find a sponsor who's willing to hire and provide apprenticeship training. And the next step after that would be to apply online on the Skilled Trades Ontario portal. So once that application is sent in, the ministry, we assist individuals to register a training agreement and support the sponsor employer in fulfilling the apprenticeship training requirements, including arranging in-class training if required. So how to find a sponsor? So sometimes that can be a challenge. So we have a few tips on that. So if there's a college you're interested in going to, most colleges have a placement office or can direct students to a career center to help find apprenticeship opportunities. You can look online, visit the job bank to post your resume and availability. There's Employment Ontario. So Employment Ontario offers employment services and training opportunities like matching apprentices to sponsors. There's also unions or trade associations, right, like OPA. They sometimes have some resources to help you find and match apprentices to sponsors. Local companies, right? You can look up local companies or businesses that might be hiring, or your network, right? So ask around to see if anyone you know is in the skilled trades and if they're hiring or know someone who's hiring. And of course, attending career fairs, such as Level Up, those type of things are always a good idea. What requirements are there for sponsors? So to train an apprentice, a sponsor must have the capacity to provide apprenticeship training, right? Possess the necessary equipment, materials, processes, and facilities to support training and foster a professional learning environment. Abide by the stipulated ratios for apprentices to journey persons. So that's only where required. Hairstylists wouldn't apply in this case. And support the apprentice to attend in-class training. Okay, so if you find a business that's not already registered with the ministry as a sponsor, it would be the ministry that would be responsible to register them. So we would, speak to that employer or sponsor and make sure that they have the capacity to provide the apprenticeship training. And the sponsor can also apply to become a sponsor through the Skilled Trades Ontario website as well. What are an apprentice's responsibilities? So an apprentice is responsible for following all sponsors and trainers' instructions, learning the required skills for the trade, attending the apprenticeship in-class training as required, tracking their training and skills acquired through the training standard, including the total numbers of hours worked, and notifying the ministry of any changes to the training agreement or personal information. Okay, and it's also important to let us know if you do change sponsors. Some apprentices, may have 2 or 3 during their apprenticeship journey. So it's important to let us know if you change sponsors. Okay. What are the sponsors' responsibilities? So they're responsible for providing training and supervision by a qualified individual, adhering to relevant legislation, maintaining communication with ministry staff, and ensuring that the apprentice is aware of their responsibilities. What does an apprentice receive after completing the apprenticeship? Okay, so after completing the apprenticeship, which includes the in-class portion and the total number of hours worked, the ministry will issue a certificate of apprenticeship. So the way that works is that you would submit your completion documents, which is usually so a signed off, some signed off documents from the logbook, just saying that you've completed the hours and the training required. And we look at that and issue this certificate of apprenticeship. And once you've completed your apprenticeship training, some trades require writing the certificate of qualification exam, which the hairstylist one does. And so those exams are written in the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development local offices. So you contact our local office to schedule your exam time. There is an exam fee that is required to be paid to Skilled Trades Ontario. But once you receive your certificate of apprenticeship, like once you've completed your apprenticeship program, we do send you all the instructions on how to book your exam and all that. Okay, so individuals have completed an apprenticeship in Ontario are issued a time-limited provisional certificate of qualification by Skilled Trades Ontario that allows them to work legally in compulsory trades while preparing for their exam. Okay, so once you've done your apprenticeship as a hairstylist, you would get a provisional certificate of qualification until you've successfully passed your exam. Okay. Right. So for some benefits and financial incentives. So for incentives and supports for apprentices, there's provincial initiatives. So the tools grant is a one-time grant of $400 to $1,000, depending on the trade, to help apprentices pay for tools. There's the apprentice development benefit. That provides temporary financial assistance to eligible apprentices while attending full-time classes at an approved training provider. Sometimes individuals will receive employment insurance, but if someone's not eligible for employment insurance, we can look at the apprentice development benefit. The third one is the apprenticeship completion bonus in non-red seal trades. So it's a $2,000 bonus to apprentices who complete training. And classroom subsidies as tuition is paid chiefly by the government. There's also some federal initiatives. There's the Apprenticeship Incentive Grant, which is for red seal trades. And it's just important to note that that Apprenticeship Incentive Grant will end March 31st, 2025. There's also the Apprenticeship Completion Grant, which is a grant of $2,000 per person for registered apprentices who successfully complete their apprenticeship program and get their journey person certification in a designated red seal trade. And that apprenticeship completion grant will also end March 31st, 2025. And there's the Canada Apprenticeship Loan. It's up to $4,000 in interest-free loans per period of technical training in a designated red seal trade. Okay, so to learn more about apprenticeship, so the ministry offers two programs for individuals interested in learning more about apprenticeship. So there's the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program. So if you're in high school, or even if you're an adult completing some credits, some high school credits, you can ask your guidance counselor for advice and referrals to that program. So it's not only for youth, it can be for adults as well. And we also have pre-apprenticeship training programs. So if you're interested in working in a trade but don't have the skills or experience to get a job as an apprentice, there's the option to apply for that program. And it's offered through different organizations such as colleges or community agencies across Ontario. And here I just have our contact information. So to find your nearest apprenticeship office, you can call toll-free 1-800-387-5656. Or you can also just Google, Employment Ontario apprenticeship offices, and it'll give you a list of the offices across the province. You can contact us directly with any questions. For new apprentices, you can use the application portal, the Skilled Trades Ontario portal, to apply for apprenticeship training. And existing apprentices can use the portal to request a change in sponsor. Okay, so the website's there, skilledtradesontario.ca/skilled-trades-ontario-portal. Okay. That's all for me.
Fantastic.
I will
Thank you.
just stop sharing here.
Thank you so much, Renee. That was awesome. We'll go ahead now on the, notes of Skilled Trades Ontario. We'll go ahead and pass it over to Monica and Rahim.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for letting me be a part of this event. Let me just share my screen here and let me know if you could see it okay.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so my name is Monica Luzano, and I'm one of the co-supervisors of Skilled Trades Ontario at the Registration and Services Department level. I'm also joined here by some of our group account coordinators, as well as my manager, Rahim Ladha. And we're going to go over a little bit of information about the trade equivalency assessment, especially for the hairstylist trade. So a little bit about who Skilled Trades Ontario is. We were previously Ontario College of Trades, and then with the wind down in 2018 to 2019, we became a Crown agency with the Ministry of Labour, Immigration and Training and Development. So we are now a Crown agency with new legislation called Building Opportunities in the Skilled Trades Act. So the acronym for that is BOSTA. And we're now a Crown agency that's monitored by the government. Sorry, I lost my screen here. There we go. So a little bit about our mandate and our responsibilities. Similar to the Ontario College of Trades, we are responsible for establishing and developing the apprenticeship programs, and that includes any of the training standards and curriculum standards that is set out for the ministry, as well as developing the certification exams for the licensing. We also assess the experience and qualifications of individuals who have not completed any of the apprenticeship programs, and this is through our trade equivalency assessment or trade qualifier that I'll be touching point on a little bit later in the presentation. We're also responsible for issuing the certifications for licenses with certifying exams, renewing them is for compulsory trades, as well as maintaining a public register. And this is found on our website. It is a record of all of the apprentices as well as journey persons who are licensed in a compulsory trade, where employers, sponsors, consumers, as well as customers can look up the records of our journey persons as well as apprentices to check what their statuses are. And we also conduct research in relation to the apprenticeship program, as well as the trade sector. So this is in terms of development of the apprenticeship program, as well as industry standard. So I know Tanya and Renee have touched on this, so you probably will memorize all of these stats by the end of the presentation. So what is a compulsory trade? A compulsory trade is where there's an apprenticeship available with an exam that leads to a certificate of qualification. And compulsory trades is required by law to have a certificate of qualification or license in order to work in the trade in compliance. There are 144 trades in total, but only 23 of them are compulsory. And there are the rest are non-compulsory trades. 60 of those non-compulsory trades do have an exam. So once you complete an apprenticeship, you will obtain the certificate of qualification as well, but it's not required by law to have that certificate of qualification to work in compliance for those non-compulsory trades. It's good to have, and sometimes employers will ask for it just for peace of mind for their consumers, as well as for their work. for any of the trades that don't have any sort of certifying exam, upon the completion of an apprenticeship program, instead of getting the certificate of qualification, you'll just be issued the certificate of apprenticeship upon completion of the apprenticeship program. And lastly, there's the Red Seal trade program, where there are journey for persons that are eligible to practice anywhere in Canada without taking any further exams, because the exam throughout Canada are the same. So if someone obtained a Red Seal in Ontario or is able to go to a different province or territory and work in that trade, as long as that jurisdiction recognizes the credential as a Red Seal credential. So what is the hairstylist trade? I'm sure you guys are very familiar with the definition of it, but this is what it's defined under our scope of practice under the new legislation of Skilled Trades Ontario. A hairstylist performs a range of hairstyling services, including cutting, designing, coloring, permanent waving, relaxing, and straightening. And these points that you see listed here, they are all the skills and experiences that are recognized as well as covered under the apprenticeship program that Skilled Trades Ontario has developed and is executed through the ministry. So what is the trade equivalency assessment, or interchangeably, you could also call it the trade qualifier? And do you qualify to apply for it, and is it right for you? So in conjunction with the apprenticeship program, which you can register as an apprentice, obtain an employer or sponsor, go through the schooling as well as the on-the-job training program, or if you already have those skills and experiences but didn't previously register as an apprentice, that is what the trade qualifier or the trade equivalency assessment pathway is. To read a little bit more about it, we do have a trade qualifier application guide that can be found on our website. It's very detailed and it has a lot of the information that's needed in terms of documentation in order to apply, what we require, and if there's any prerequisites that go along for a particular trade. But the trade equivalency assessment or trade qualifier application process is for experienced tradespeople who have not completed an Ontario apprenticeship program, but they do have the equivalent skills and experiences in the hairstylist trade in particular, and want to obtain the certificate of qualification in the trade. And a lot of the time, we do accept people who have gone through the apprenticeship program in the past but haven't completed it, but wanted to get those hours recognized that they've earned through their apprenticeship program. Or there are folks who have come from abroad. We do get a lot of international applicants who have certifications in their home country, or have done an apprenticeship, or have just worked in the trade abroad and want to get their skills and experiences recognized here in Ontario, and sort of instead of registering as an apprentice in Ontario and starting from scratch, trying to get those hours and skills recognized through our program. In order to apply, you must prove that you do have the hours and the experiences demonstrated for the trade, and have the way that we do evaluate is that we compare the hours that were obtained on the job, as well as your skills and your experiences, to the apprenticeship program in Ontario. And you would have to prove these skills and experiences and hours through documentation through the application process. So the work experience and the hours that are required for the hairstylist exam and the apprenticeship program is 3,500 hours, which approximately works out to 2 years working full time if you're working about 1,800 hours per year. And these skills and work experience must align with our Ontario Training Apprenticeship Standard, as well as the Red Seal Standard. And this is what the Skilled Trades Ontario Apprentice Training Standard looks like. So this is the logbook that you could find on our website. It is an electronic copy. It's a very long document with many pages, but this is just a brief overview of what the logbook looks like on our website. And you can see that the skills that are listed here has an in-depth description of every skill that is required for the apprenticeship program. And this is what we base our assessment off of. And on the right-hand side that you see, the Appendix C, these are all the skill sets that are listed. So you could see workplace health and safety procedures, perform sanitization procedures. All of these skills are the skill sets that we're looking for. And in the middle, you could see that there's a very nice description of each of these skills that fall under these skill sets. And this is how we do our assessment based off of the work experience that applicants provide in their application process. How can you apply for the assessment? So there are many ways that you could apply. We do recommend reading the Trade Inclusive or Trade Qualifier Guide with all the requirements and documentation that we do require for the application. Just to point out, we do need an application form, some government photo ID that is valid and not expired. We do also require for proof of hours and proof of experience. We do ask for work experience forms or an employment letter or a reference letter from your employer or sponsor that lists your work start date, your end date, your job title, as well as your job description and skills and experiences in the trade. You could submit all of these documentation and the application via email, or you could also submit it through our new Skill Trades Ontario online portal, where you would create an online portal account and you could follow the assessment process from start to finish on the portal. The assessment fee is $235 plus tax. Once we receive the application, our processing consultants, they will vet the application to make sure that everything is complete. We'll reach out to you if there's any documentation that's missing or any information that's needed. Once everything is complete, they will assign it to a trade equivalency analyst, where they will do the evaluation of hours as well as the skills. They will also reach out to your employers or references to verify the information that you've provided is correct, just to make sure that the hours and the skills are met. And once that is complete, they will render a final decision, and you'll get that final decision on your application via email as well as through mail. If the application is successful, you would receive an approval letter, and that approval letter means that you do meet the skills and experiences based off of the apprenticeship program for the trade, and that you are qualified to write the certificate of qualification exam. And upon passing the exam, that's when you are issued the license in the trade. And this is just a little bit of an overview of what the application forms look like. You could find all of these forms on our website. So this is the first and second page, what has all of your information, the trade information, as well as your reference information. And you could put multiple references down, different types of work experience or different employers that you would have cumulatively in the trade that are relevant to the trade that you're applying for. Just a little bit more on the declaration and consent when you're submitting your application in. And this is an example of our work experience form. So you could either submit this that is signed by your reference or employer that has your information as well as your references and employer's information of where you worked. On the right-hand side, it will have the information about your work experience. So there's your start date, your end date, the total amount of time that you worked, as well as just a free-form box where your employer or sponsor can write down your job duties as well as the skills and experiences that you've performed and earned while working in the trade. And in place of this, if you didn't want to provide a work experience form, we could also accept reference letters or employment letters from your employer or sponsor or your reference from the company with all this information. So it could be just a reference letter that could be 1 or 2 pages long. We do recommend that it be as detailed as possible with your work experience, because we definitely base a lot of the assessment on this. And these references is what the trade equivalency analyst will use to either reach out via phone or via email to verify all this information is correct. And if you would like to contact us, here's a landing page for our contact information. We accept all the applications via email at assessments@skilltradesontario.ca. Any of the questions we are also able to answer via email as well. But we do highly recommend to go on our website to check out all the information, all the forms that are there. And we could be reached by telephone. So we have a great client service consultant team, and they're available Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. And they're able to answer any of the questions regarding apprenticeship program registration, as well as the trade equivalency assessment or trade qualifier. Once you submit everything in, you could also contact our phone line to check what the status is of your application or any information about the exam process as well. But that's it. Thank you so much for your time and for listening. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to now open it up to a Q&A. So I'm just going to start the questions that were already in the chat. And then, of course, if you have any more, please feel free to put them in the chat. So to start, Tanya viewed a question saying, how long can we stay unlicensed?
So as long as you're a registered apprentice and working through your logbook, you are working legally. Once your sponsor has signed off all the competencies in your logbook and you submit that to like Renee's, one of her offices, and you fill in and pay your fee for the licensing exam, you then have 1 year from that point to successfully pass your exam and obtain your certificate of qualification.
Okay, awesome. Hopefully that answered your question. And then moving on, I believe this one was for Renee. Anita said, why do you have to renew your apprenticeship every 6 months?
Okay, so you don't have to renew your apprenticeship every 6 months. You would just have to, register once as an apprentice. If there's any changes in your contact information, anything like that, you'd want to contact the ministry and let us know. If you applied through the Skilled Trades Ontario portal, you can keep your personal information up to date there as well. If you change sponsors, so if you change employers, that's when you would want to let us know and submit an application to change your sponsor through the Skilled Trades Ontario website. Okay, or you can also call our office and ask how you would proceed to change your sponsor, and we can let you know. But that's it. Once you're registered as an apprentice, you'll stay registered until you've completed your apprenticeship hours.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then another question from Sarah, who asked, are there going to be any new grants after March 2025?
Yeah, so the 2 grants that I mentioned that are ending in March 2025 are federal grants. So we haven't heard if there'll be anything new to replace those or not. All we know is that those grants will be ending March 31st.
Okay, thank you so much. And then moving on to questions for Monica. So Nidhi said that she was a bit confused about the exam. I'm not exactly sure what exam you're talking about there. Maybe you can clarify in the chat. But she said, I'm confused with the exam. No, there's no need to take the exam for hairstylist. I think this might be for the trade equivalency assessment. If you're still in the chat, please feel free to clarify.
Yeah, so the trade equivalency assessment or the trade qualifier application, upon completion, and if you are approved for this application process, you are approved to write the certificate of qualification exam. And once you pass that exam, that's when you get the full license in the trade.
Okay, awesome. Hopefully that answered that. If not, please feel free to let us know. And then Sarah said that she did the exam, but it was very hard. And she was only studying from the book. So she wanted to know if there's anything else that you can study from other than the book.
We do have an exam support unit. So if you do call in and you're having trouble, we're able to look up your file or your apprenticeship program and your information on our database. And we could see what exam that you attempted, if there's any weak areas, and our exam support advisors are able to assist with any study resources, as well as try to help out where maybe where your weak areas may be and try to focus on there. But I do recommend to call into our client services department, and they'll be happy to look into it for you and provide some more help.
Awesome. Okay, so we have one more question. Again, if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat now. But I'm not sure exactly who this is to, but Esther asked what happens after 1 year if you don't complete your hours? So I'm not sure who here can answer that, but if one of the speakers can, please go ahead.
I would say that's apprenticeship, so I'll turn it over to Renee.
Yeah, for sure. So I think for hairstylists, it's suggested about 2 years to complete the hairstylist apprenticeship, right? There's a certain amount of hours. I believe, is it 3,200? I should know off the top of my head, but I don't know all of them for each trade. So it's a suggested amount of time to complete your hours. If it takes you longer, then that's okay. But it's really, those skills that you have to complete in your logbook. So as long as you're registered as an apprentice, and you're working towards completing that logbook, then I think you're doing well. Maybe there's a bit of confusion around the provisional certificate of qualification. So once you complete your apprenticeship, that's when you receive the provisional certificate of qualification, and you have 1 year to write your exam. Okay, hopefully that helps to clarify that question. And also just to note too about the exams. So, when you're booking your exam with one of the ministry offices, you can also request accommodations as well. So there's different types of accommodations if you need more time for your exam, interpreter, things like that. So, if there's specific things you need, then you can discuss that with one of our service delivery assistants when booking the exam.
Yeah, and just to add to that, after you get the provisional certificate of qualification, it does expire within 1 year, but there is an extension that is an extension application that is available on our website, and you may be issued a 6-month extension, but it depends on extenuating circumstances where, let's say, something was out of your control and for several months you're not able to write the exam. So there is an application process that you could try to apply for that extension, but we do require that you apply for the 6-month extension before the provisional of certificate of qualification does expire.
Okay, thank you both. And then, yeah, just moving on to Tanya answered that question. Thanks, Tanya. And then Eddie wanted to know, can my previous work experience be combined with Canadian work experience to total 3,500 hours?
Yeah, for the trade qualifier application, you could provide any work experience that is relevant to the trade as long as that work experience is hands-on and that the reference or employer that you are providing is able to verify this information. So we do get a lot of people who have some international experience in the past, but then when they arrive in Canada, they work with a Canadian employer and they provide both. So we do recommend providing as much information as possible from as many employers as you can, just so that it makes a better application form to see your career from start to finish, rather than just providing, the 3,500 hours from one employer. It's good to see everything all encompassing for your career. But yeah, as long as all the information can be verified, we do recommend to provide it.
Perfect, thank you. And then Nora asked for the work experience form, is it completed by the current or past employer? So for example, if you don't have contact with another employer, if from a different country or for whatever reason.
Yeah, it could be from both. If you can get a past employer to sign and fill out that work experience form, it's highly recommended. It could also be from your current employer. We have dealt with applicants in the past where they're not able to get a hold of their previous employer, but we are able to supplement with some information like ROEs if you have something like that, so that we could see your work start date and end date, as well as the hours that were accumulated. But the best bet in terms of providing, a comprehensive application would be for the work experience form to be submitted, or an employment letter, if you could get one.
Thank you. And Sarah is asking, when will the licensing exam include a practical portion to the exam?
That I know that our standards department is working on it. I don't currently have a update or a date right now, but I could take it back and follow up with our department to see if they have any updates, and I could send it over.
Perfect, thank you. And just for everyone, we'll include that in the wrap-up email that we send later this week. And then another question from Nora, who's asking, what does ROE stand for?
Oh, it's a record of employment. So once you complete your employment with an employer, usually in Canada, they give you this record of employment that just has your work start date, your end date, the job title that you held, as well as how long you worked, which would help us calculate how many hours you've accumulated. I'm not sure with some other countries that they might have something similar as well. I have seen it in the past. Where they could get that sort of record from their employment services industry, but that would be to sort of substitute an employment letter if you can't get one.
Okay, thank you. There's no more questions in the chat. If anyone else does have one, please feel free to put it in now, but I'll just go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you all, everyone, for attending. I hope that it was informative. Thank you to all of our speakers. That was amazing, and you answered so many great questions. We will, like I said before, we've recorded this session. Oh, there's one more question. Pause. So Eddie asked, how many hours can be earned if I take a stylist course at a college in Canada? I was told 1,000, but the website says 480.
If this is for the trade qualifier, most of the time when people provide their transcripts for private colleges or the public colleges, the transcript will list the amount of hours. And what I've typically seen is 1,500 hours, and that would be the hands-on hours, and not including any of the sort of theory-based portion, but we could accredit those hours as long as it's on the transcript as well as the any of the record of your schooling. We could use that towards the trade fluency assessment, but we do make sure that the work experience is verifiable.
I just want to add to that the 1,000 hours, I think Eddie's referring to if you're going to school full time at a private school, and that's typically 1,500 hours, but you still, Eddie, will require your on the job training portion. So whether you, at the end of the day, we're still looking for that benchmark of 3,500 hours. So it doesn't really matter the pathway. The 480 is referring to traditional apprenticeships. That's where you work a bit and then you go to school. So you're going to work, you're going to go to school level 1, that's 240 hours, go back to work, do some more training, go back to school level 2, 240, that's the 480. So just to kind of clarify, they're all different pathways. At the end of it, we're all looking at that 3,500 hours. And no matter which pathway you take, it is based on those practical skill sets and getting those competencies that need to be signed off in that logbook. So just to kind of clarify, because I don't know if Eddie's looking at all the different points, and it could be trade equivalency, but it's also based on which schooling path you take.
Okay, thank you. And then Nadie is just asking, I think if the exam is always the same. I'm not sure if you're referring to the hairstylist exam, or yeah, I'll pass it over to you.
So I would say the hairstylist exam, I believe there's 4 different exams that you can write. So when you sign up, if you weren't successful one time and you go back, it could be a different exam because there's a bank of questions that have been created, as I say, across Canada. Remember, this exam is done by subject matter experts across Canada because it is a Red Seal exam, even though we're not currently issuing that Red Seal. Once we get the practical exam, we will. So there are, I believe, 4 different ones. So if you do write different times, if you weren't successful, you can get a different exam each time that you do attempt.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's it for the questions. Again, if you have one, feel free to pop it in the chat, or of course, send us an email. All the contact information will be in the recording, but also I'll put it in the email. So we will follow up with everybody later this week with the recording. If you have any questions, again, feel free to send them to us and we'll do our best to answer them. I hope that you all found this useful. We have another webinar coming up on November 4th, which is all about health and safety, including the Ontario regulations, WMIS, all of that. So I'll also include that registration link in the follow-up email if you would like to attend. It'll be very useful. We'll have more guest speakers again. And yeah, thank you so much to everybody for attending, and we will be in touch via email. Have a good rest of your day, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.